Soma, released in September of 2015, retailing for $29.99, is available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation platforms. And what we have here is a first-person survival game taking place in the future and under the sea. You stealth around monsters and you solve puzzles. And it goes on for about 10 hours. And now I am going to need to get much more into spoilers than I normally would for a game. So if you don't want this game spoiled at all, just know that I do not recommend Soma. So the game starts in modern times, and you're a guy who has been in some kind of tragic accident. And he has had some kind of major brain trauma that doesn't seem to have affected his motor skills or brain function, but will, however, be lethal for him, at least over time, and he's involved in some kind of brain scanning experiment to seek treatment. And that apparently does not go well. Next thing he knows, after the brain scan, he's now woken up and it's the year 2104. Or thereabouts, and he is in a particularly run-down-looking undersea base. Exploring, he finds out he's basically alone, except for some mechanical monsters of some description. But as he goes on, he starts to encounter robots that are under the impression they're people. These are here because apparently, at some point between when he got his brain scan and when he suddenly woke up, a comet impacted the Earth, leading to an apocalypse scenario. So the people in the sea base that have determined they're the last people left alive, though it's not entirely clear how they made this determination other than they can't actually contact anyone else, have decided they're going to upload their consciousness into a satellite that they will launch into orbit so that their consciousness will be the last preservation of mankind. And they apparently also put copies of their consciousnesses into these robots, who are now stuck in loops and seem to have forgotten that they've put themselves inside robots. And this is why this entire game and its premise seem horribly and hopelessly pointless to me, as the vast majority of robots you encounter are malfunctioning in some way, where they're either caught in a loop or don't seem to be able to process what's going on around them. This leads me to believe that there is some kind of flaw in the process of uploading one's consciousness into a robot. Now, it's possible this process worked at first, and these robots and their hardware has just become corrupted over time. But if that's the case, wouldn't that same corruption take place on the satellite they want to launch into orbit? And who is that satellite for, ultimately? Because isn't the whole point that humanity has been wiped out as a whole? Is this satellite just for some hypothetical aliens in the future to find? And even if they do, what are they going to do with it? And the whole reason the player character is here at all is because apparently the scan of his brain is like the default tutorial they give to explain how to make an AI. So apparently in all software to scan brains, there is all of his consciousness and all of his memories just there as a throwaway tutorial. Which does make me wonder how many copies of this guy have been walking around in robots. We're also told later that the monsters wandering around are actually a manifestation of the corruption inside the AI that actually runs the sea base. And since all AI is apparently based on this guy's brain scan that was from a damaged brain, is that the reason that the station and all the people that have become robots are malfunctioning? Because they never actually addressed the damage that was with that guy's brain when they first scanned it? Was no one else ever scanned and mapped by this machine? Is this plan to save copies of people the first time it's been done since? You know, maybe had they not just spelled out that you're just an AI in a shell, maybe let the player see subtle hints of that and come to that conclusion themselves? Instead, they throw away that reveal in a completely meaningless fashion. And it's not just the nonsensical nature of the story that bothers me. It's also the wasting of potential that I saw in this game. Setting everything under the sea, there's a lot you could have done with that, especially in a horror setting. But sadly, the ocean is seemingly empty. Even looking in the distance, you see no silhouettes of anything swimming. The most you ever run into are more malfunctioning robots, and they're usually played for laughs. But I digress. So, is this game worth your time and money? Well, I already said earlier that I don't recommend this game, especially not at a $30 price point. If you are morbidly curious about this game, or just super into stealthy survival games, I would recommend waiting for a sale. This is a game that very much wants you to believe it's deep and has a lot to say. Sadly, it simply isn't and doesn't. Please do like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.